Hey there, Rick's Recaps welcomes you to The Shallows. The movie unfolds with a young boy playing football on a secluded beach in Mexico. Suddenly he stumbles upon a helmet with a GoPro attached to it. Upon playing the first video, he discovers two surfers enjoying the beautiful weather and having a delightful time. However, their happy moment is short-lived when they are suddenly attacked by a massive shark that tears them apart. Overwhelmed by their screams of terror, he immediately flees the scene. Then the scene shifts to 2 days earlier when Nancy Adams, an aspiring medical student, embarks on her journey to the beach. Conversing with her driver, Nancy shares that her career aspirations have shifted following her mother's recent demise from a terminal illness. She further reveals that her mom got pregnant on the beach, making it very special for her. After a while, they finally reach the beach, which unfolds as a breathtakingly picturesque location, just as Nancy had envisioned. The best part is that the beach is mostly deserted, except for a few local surfers enjoying the waves. After the driver leaves, Nancy swiftly changes into her swimwear and prepares her surfboard left behind by her mother. She eagerly plunges into the ocean and begins paddling toward the waves. Venturing further, Nancy encounters two surfers and asks if there is anything about the beach she must know. One of the surfers promptly warns her about the jellyfish commonly found in these waters, and the occasional appearance of reefs during low tide evenings. After their brief conversation, the trio jumps on their surfboards and rides the waves. Nancy impresses with her skills, displaying her expertise in surfing. Hours later, the boys tire and decide to depart. However, Nancy, having traveled all the way from the States, craves more excitement. She bids them farewell, intending to extend her stay for a few more hours. Once the boys are gone, Nancy senses someone's presence in the water. To her relief, it's a pod of exuberant dolphins frolicking joyfully. Enchanted by their playfulness, Nancy decides to follow their lead. Moments later, Nancy gets surprised to see blood in the water coming out of a deceased whale, likely hunted a few days prior. Realizing the presence of a predator nearby, Nancy quickly boards her surfboard and speeds toward safety. Regrettably, the creature has already spotted her, viciously striking her surfboard, causing her to be thrown into the rocks. In a remarkable feat, Nancy regains her footing on the surfboard, but the immense white shark seizes her leg, dragging her beneath the water's surface. The ferocious struggle inflicts severe wounds, transforming the surrounding water into a crimson hue. Nevertheless, Nancy somehow manages to free herself and clambers onto the whale carcass. It is at this moment that the gravity of her predicament fully dawns on her. Shrieking and pleading for assistance, she is met with the disheartening realization that her cries go unheard, as she remains too distant from the shore. The determined shark persists in its quest to eliminate Nancy, repeatedly slamming the whale carcass and nearly causing her to lose her balance. Recognizing the need for a more secure refuge, Nancy scans her surroundings and identifies two possibilities. The first is a buoy floating in the distance, but it seems too far away to reach. The second option is a reef emerging due to the low tides. However, there's a drawback: the reef will be submerged again the following day. Facing a critical decision, Nancy opts for the reef just as the shark forcefully propels the carcass into the air. Now in the water with a severely injured leg, she swims for her life as the shark relentlessly pursues her. Fortunately, Nancy reaches the safety of the reef. There she encounters a seagull, another victim of the shark's aggression, which was previously perched on the whale carcass. Although she empathizes with the bird, Nancy's immediate focus remains on her own dire situation. She improvises a makeshift operation using her ornaments to stem the bleeding in her leg, causing her to cry out in anguish. Little does she realize that her ordeal has only just begun, as a more harrowing situation looms ahead. After tending to her wound, Nancy secures her wetsuit around it to prevent infection. As the night falls and temperatures drop, she adapts her swimsuit into a makeshift jacket for added warmth. However, the resilient seagull observes Nancy's efforts with disapproving eyes, seemingly unimpressed by her struggles. Later they share a meal of crabs and develop a bond. During the night, Nancy notices her surfboard floating nearby and cautiously enters the water, hoping the shark has departed. To her dismay, she soon spots the menacing fin of the great white shark still lurking in the vicinity. Summoning her last ounce of strength, Nancy retreats to the safety of the reef, but in doing so, she aggravates her injured leg once again. On the brink of despair, Nancy's hope is reignited when she spots a drunken man passed out on the beach nearby. Desperate for assistance, she screams for help, and to her relief, he awakens. She urgently directs him to use her phone, securely stored in her bag. However, the man's true colors are revealed as he succumbs to greed. He brazenly seizes all her cash, slips her phone into his pocket and prepares to depart. Caught in disbelief, Nancy watches helplessly as he notices her surfboard floating in the water and decides to steal that as well. Despite Nancy's desperate attempts to warn the greedy man of the imminent danger, he dismisses her concerns and ventures into the water to retrieve the surfboard. However, his reckless decision proves fatal as the shark viciously attacks him, tearing his body in half. Powerless to intervene, Nancy watches in horror, realizing the grim reality of her situation. The next morning as the tides rise, Nancy is confronted with the urgent need to find a way to escape the treacherous sea before the sinking reef seals her fate. Suddenly the surfers from the previous day arrive at the beach and notice Nancy on the reef. Despite her attempts to warn them about the shark, they brush it off as a joke. Unfortunately, in a terrifying moment, the shark leaps out of the water and devours one of the surfers. Witnessing the gruesome scene, the remaining friend swims towards Nancy in a panic, but the shark pulls him under, leaving Nancy horrified. Wounded yet determined to survive and see her family again, Nancy still tends to the injured seagull, who initially bites her in frustration. However, the bird eventually calms down, and Nancy finds strength in her resolve to overcome the tragic events that have unfolded. In the next scene, Nancy spots the second surfer's helmet with a GoPro attached to it. Determined to retrieve it, she devises a plan considering the shark circling her. Using her watch, Nancy calculates the shark's rotation time to be 30 seconds. Seizing an opportune moment, she dives into the water and successfully grabs the GoPro. However, the relentless shark gives chase, attempting to snatch her from the surface. Luckily, the sharp rocks and poisonous plants repel the shark back into the water. Surviving yet another close encounter, Nancy now possesses a valuable tool in the middle of the sea, the GoPro. Even the gull is left in disbelief by Nancy's reckless behavior, but she remains undeterred. She records heartfelt messages for her family, preparing them for the possibility of her death in the ocean, and pleads for help in another recording. Throwing the GoPro back into the sea, she hopes that someone will find it and come to her rescue. As the high tide approaches, Nancy knows she must dive into the water and reach the buoy at any cost. The 100-meter distance will take her at least 2 minutes, but she must take the risk knowing that the shark will easily catch up to her. Before she leaves, she places the gull on a broken surfboard, hoping the waves will carry it to safety. As Nancy dives into the water, she notices hundreds of jellyfish swimming nearby. This sparks an idea in Nancy's mind. Recalling the surfer's warning about the jellyfish's danger, she takes a daring risk and swims amidst the jellyfish, using them as a shield against the shark. The plan proves successful as the shark is too afraid to approach. Finally reaching the buoy, Nancy attempts to climb it, but the handle breaks, causing her to fall back into the water with the shark in pursuit. Showing great courage, she stabs the shark with a piece of metal, giving herself enough time to climb onto the buoy. Searching through the hidden compartment, Nancy discovers a flare gun. Desperate for help, she fires it into the sky, but unfortunately there is no one in sight. Meanwhile, the shark grows increasingly aggressive, relentlessly striking the buoy. It's only a matter of minutes before the buoy is destroyed. The shark's aggression intensifies as it repeatedly rams the buoy, gradually dismantling the sturdy structure. Nancy clings on desperately, relying on a mere piece of metal as her shield against the relentless predator. In a critical moment, as the buoy sinks beneath the surface, Nancy's eyes catch sight of the anchor nestled on the seabed, adorned with menacing pointed rods. Determined to outwit the shark, she seizes the opportunity and disengages the chain connecting the anchor. The weight of the chain pulls Nancy into the depths of the ocean, and the shark, sensing its prey's attempt to escape, begins its pursuit. In a daring final move, she releases the chain at the last possible moment, narrowly avoiding the sharp anchor. However, the shark isn't as fortunate, as it is impaled by the anchor and meets its instant demise. In the following scene, the boy returns with his father, who happens to be the earlier driver. Spotting Nancy lifeless on the shore, he immediately administers CPR, and to everyone's relief, she regains consciousness. Even the gull shows its support from the sidelines. The movie then fast-forwards to a year later, where Nancy is seen at a beach in Texas. Her injuries have healed, leaving behind only a few scars on her legs. Resuming her studies, Nancy is now on the path to becoming a doctor. The film concludes as she joyfully jumps into the sea with her sister. Thanks for being with us.